I'm going to start off with these notes here, and we'll cover this weekend, what happened on Saturday, and obviously we can see that most people got tired from Saturday, or they worked so hard on Sunday that now they forgot to get up this morning, right? Okay. But October 15th, if you write that date down, if you look on your phone calendar, how many weeks do we have as of today?
Almost 2.5. Well, a little bit over 2.5.
So a little bit over 2.5, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So 2.5 weeks left to finish the month off strong. Okay, so
Thursdays from now.
3 Thursdays from now is when App Day is. Okay, so we've got to fight. Okay, just like the song just now. And the reason why I put this next point here down below here is you got to do 3 and 3. And the RVPs and I were talking about this. We're going to have something special for the 3 and 3 crew. The 3 and 3 crew is literally going to have special seating. They're going to have special drinks and stuff at the next event. So it's not just going to be RVPs. They're going to get the golf shirts. We'll probably have 2 breakout sessions right at lunchtime instead of going into the location, going to eat on your own. The 3 and 3s will go off in a different group, and then the 10 and 10s is going to be the ultimate. I mean, you're going to be able to go to my boathouse, hang out, probably get on the boat, talk about being an RVP, what does it take. And it's going to go longer than the regular session, okay? So it's going to carry over. So we're going to have a lot of fun. We'll probably just come say bye to everybody after the meeting and go back to the boathouse too, okay? Maybe with the 3 and 3s. The 3 and 3s might get that at the end, okay?
Is it 3 and 3? Is it 3 sales or is it 3,000?
3,000. So we get this straight.
Yeah.
It's 3,000 in production and 3 recruits. 3,000 in production, not like little 3 baby $20 riders. For some of y'all, y'all like, oh, I did that in one house. No.
Personally, right?
That's right. It's personal. 3 by 3. So everybody knows that. It's 3,000 and 3 recruits. Okay. If I make it 3 sales, I mean that's crazy. Okay. But 3 and 3 is 3,000 in premium and 3 recruits, and 10 and 10 is the same thing. 10,000 in premium and 10 recruits. All right, so 10 people doing 10 and 10, and then we'll have at least 3 base shops go over 30 and 30, and preferably with 5 codes. And I'd like y'all to add 2 codes to the 10 and 10, at least 2 codes there, and then at least 1 code with your 3 and 3. Okay, so I want to try to start adding that in, and then we also have the 7 points. I want to start recognizing the 7 points. So on the 17th, we're going to recognize those that have the best QBI, right? Point number 4. We're going to recognize those who have the best licensing. All right, point number 3. We're going to have the best recruiting, point number 2. How y'all like that?
Yeah.
Personal and team, that way you can still compete in that area. We're going to have the income earners, the top income earners. That's going to be pretty neat to see. All right, so now you can win at a lot of different things, right? And number 5 is how many promotions you have in your base shop. How many promotions do you have personally? That'd be kind of cool to see who promotes the most districts from event to event. So I like that, okay? And then obviously this last event we had 2 RVPs, right? So that's number 6 is RVP. So I'd love to be able to say, you know what, we got another RVP out. All right, that'd be kind of neat, all right? And then we have the last one is ownership and stock. So we're going to also track who gets stock and ownership. So we'll make sure we have a slot of that and who's got money banked and stuff like that, okay? All right, so it's an easy way to recognize. How about it? Would y'all agree? Okay, that keeps it real simple and stuff like that. So the other thing is there's 2 key points here, and there's a PowerPoint that I have, but I asked Kirby to share a few things this morning. But we'll go for my part's 1 hour. Kirby's is 20 to 30 minutes. I think 30 minutes I said, right? Okay, so and it is very important points because we've got to make sure we emphasize and drive recruiting. All right, recruiting, when recruiting goes up, everything else what follows. So I'd like y'all to start, just like Gerard said last night. Did y'all hear the news? Did y'all hear about that? Did y'all hear about it? The best thing in Primerica, when recruiting what? Goes up, everything else follows. Right, John? So when you get recruited, it's John and John right there, right? John and John in the morning right there, okay? All right, so it's like a radio show, John and John. All right, but you look at it, you say, okay, when recruiting goes up, incomes go up. When recruiting goes up, you have the potential to have QBI problems, right or wrong. So you also have the potential to have great QBI, all right? So we've got to make sure we start talking like this around the office. Driving attendance, okay, these are the key points here. Driving attendance, all right, at events. So just kind of flatter me for a second here, and I want to talk to you all about this. There's no way possible that Kirby can't have 50 at his meeting, okay? When there's a new RVP out and there's another new RVP out, they got to be focused on getting 25.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's 50 right there. Okay, and then his base shops already should be doing what? 50. So how can they not go to a hotel room and have 100? All right. The only way is it stays what? Small, and everybody stays in that one little environment. Just like our challenge here. What's up, Ricky? It's just like our challenge here in this office is we got multiple leaders, Kirby. So we've got to make sure we don't mistake 50 people here for big, because it isn't big. Does that make sense, guys? Okay, not when you separate the fist. And y'all with me here? When you separate the fist, each finger has to become a fist. I know I'm weird like that, okay? But y'all gotta get what I'm saying, okay? Because it's misleading if we're a fist in here and we're strong when all of us are together, but when we spread out, we gotta become an independent fist. All right? So if you heard that on the phone, it would be Opelousas, it'd be Baton Rouge, it'd be Shreveport, it'd be Dallas, California, that's on this call this morning, okay? So I'm expecting 50 out of home a minimum, okay, with the RVPs and that, okay? But I think y'all really need to focus on 75, because the RVPs need to grow their attendance to 25, so they may hit 10 and 10 each, right? Or 15, one hit, right? So, but the base needs to hit 50. I'm also expecting Shade's team, let's just use this office, okay? Our office here to hit 75 this week. All right, now y'all realize I want to take it to 100, and I really think we can be at 100 in a holiday month, okay? I really think in November we'll hit 3 weeks in a row at 100. How about y'all? Yeah. And how that's going to happen is independent units hitting what? 10 and 25. And then ultimately it's focused on having what? Individuals bringing 3 each. Okay? And this with what? 1. So I'm asking y'all to perpetuate this and sell this and don't lose focus of the meetings on a weekly basis. The other thing that really has driven us as a championship team is the focus on 4 appointments a week. You should have a minimum. Now, we all say, and I'm going to talk about it today, the championship game plan is 8 a week. Okay? The championship play is 8 a week. Very few people do that. The ones that do explode. All right? Because I'm going to talk, my session today is to talk about how to get to regional vice president in 6 months. Okay? The 6-month game plan of regional vice president. You can steal this PowerPoint, take the PowerPoint, and get it to your team. Because I think we need to have a bunch of new action people running for RVP. Okay? But here's the key point I'm making here is 4 appointments a week is how many for the month? 16. So if you think about that on an individual basis, 16 appointments should yield them how many sales? At least 8. Yeah. All right, 8 sales. So it should be at least 5,000 in production, right or wrong. So they should make at least $3,000 in income, right? Just by doing 4 appointments a week. All right, y'all got that? Mm-hmm. Now 5 people doing it should be what, Nick? So you should be totally jacked about this, okay? Because it's a simple play as a new RVP. Jonathan, same thing, okay? Some of y'all in the same spot. So, especially Shade and Daniel in the new city, okay, this is kind of how you should look at it. 5 people doing 4 appointments should be how many a week? 20. So I'd put a chart up in your office. How many teams do you have doing 20 appointments? And then can you accumulate a team that does 20 appointments? Okay, I know Brian's not here, by the way, because his brother's in the hospital. Just think I sent this or something like that. Okay, but I'm so watch here. So 4 appointments times 5 doing it is how many? 20 times 4 weeks is how many appointments? 80, which is 50 F&As, which is at least what, 30 sales. I would think it's probably 40 sales. After the one you sit down with, you close. How many of you would agree? All right. So if 40 sales should be 3 teams over 30 and 30. All right, so if it's Shade's team that's saying, okay, I'm going to do 30 and 30 this month. If it's Troy's team, the Rhino team, we should be what? Have 20 appointments a week. Okay, and then if it's Brian's team doing 30 and 30, they should have 20 appointments a week. All right, and then that's it, guys. So this Saturday was a success. How about it? Yep. Yeah. Okay, so why don't we go ahead and get started and start with Kirby. Kirby's going to start off the presentation today. He's talking about numbers, guys, and the predictability of numbers. And I'll write this down. You got to know them. You got to know them. You got to work them. You got to accept them. And you got to fall in love with them. The key point to it: know them, accept them, work them, fall in love with them, and do what? Watch. Try to break them. Okay? Try to break them. And the other key point is: don't treat people like a number. All right? You build friendships here. All right? Let's go. Give it up for Kirby. All right, Kirby. All right.
shaking because I did this weekend with this little iPad timer thing, so I stay on time.
All right, perfect.
All right, guys. Hey, look, I only got a 30-minute block here, and I got probably 4 hours worth of training and stuff to get in here. So I'm going to really kind of go through this pretty quickly. But I want to preface this with anybody's ever heard of the Brett Burke CD, the mindset, the business mentality kind of thing. One of the things he says on there is that 90+% of small businesses fail in the first couple of years. But he says 90+% of franchises and brokerages succeed in the first 3 to 5 years. And we did a training the other night, and I apologize. I thought I had it, the PowerPoint on my iPad. I was trying to send it to D'Artagnan, because you'd have loved that stuff. It was really good. But I'll just I have to come off the cuff with it. But the difference between the franchise model and the brokerage model and just regular startup mom and pops is very, very simple. If you open up a business, how many of y'all can, like Troy always said, how many of y'all can cook a burger better than McDonald's? Everybody can. The burgers ain't, I mean, if you would cook a burger at your house that thin and that small, I mean, that would be pretty embarrassing. But the reality is that McDonald's makes an enormous amount of money selling low quality products. Why? Because they have a system. You opened up, Lodger's Burgers, you're probably not going to be that successful. Why? Because there's not a certain guideline. You're on your own. You got to figure out how much meat to put in per patty. You got to figure out the security systems. You got to do all that stuff, and you have no system, no predictability, no numbers. And therefore, even though your quality is good, you don't understand that stuff, and that's why it takes 3 to 5 years to make any money. When most people in the business world don't have 3 to 5 years of upfront capital to sustain no profits. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So if you get into a business that's already been done, the system's already there, you can pretty much just run the play, and you're going to be successful. Wouldn't make a lot of sense for Tweeter to open up McDonald's and change the arches to a big T for Tweeter. You know what I'm saying? Wouldn't make sense. So you can go anywhere in the world. You can be in Japan, Iona, and go into McDonald's and know that there's probably a 10-piece nugget on there somewhere if you want one. Okay? So it's predictability. I want you to understand this: that all successful businesses work on a formula, work on a certain certain pattern of numbers. Now, Troy's exactly right when he said people are not numbers. People are, well, in the corporate world, people are treated as numbers, and that's why people are trying to leave that system. But in any successful business, where even if it's a corporate business or whatever, where the employees love working there, like Google, Chick-fil-A, they have some of the highest employee satisfaction, because they just love the people. So their employers are working a system of numbers, but they're not treating their people like that. So you can do both, and I would highly encourage you to understand the numbers, because if you don't, this is this business could be, like Omar says, either a logical decision or an emotional decision. And if you're just basing your future on emotions, if you got some good stuff happening, you're going to be up here. If you got some bad things happening, you're going to be down at the bottom. But if you understand the business, understand the model, like Art always said, you never get too high when it's going good, never get too low when it's going bad. Why? Because it's very predictable. If all of a sudden we have a bad month, it's pretty predictable and easy how to get out of it. And if you're having a good month, you understand the numbers, you can keep it going, okay? So what I want to do is I want to go, and before I do my PowerPoint, we did an experiment the other day, and I thought the results were fascinating. We had a group of people, we had 6 volunteers, okay? I'm going to try to paint a picture for you because I don't have my PowerPoint. But I took a deck of playing cards, and now we all know the numbers, right? You ever heard of the number? You go recruit 10, right? You go recruit 10. How many out of 10 is going to quit before the ink is dry? 3. How many of them is going to not quit that day, but pretty much never show up again? 3. So that's 60%, right? Right. How many of them is going to be happy part-timers? 3. And how many of them is going to really race to district? 1. So if you understand, that's about 60% that's going to basically do nothing. 30% is going to do something, and 10% is going to basically be your guy that you're going to want to sit next to at a meeting because it's your guy, right? Well, we took a deck of playing cards, and we had 6 volunteers, and this is what we did. The first volunteer, we did 6 different attempts, right? Duplicating 6 months of recruiting, and we assigned each playing card a certain value. For example, if it was a 10 or less. Jen, you would love it. This was really cool. If it was a 10 or less, it was a dud. Okay? If it was a face card, it was a happy part-timer, and if it was an ace, it was a stud, okay, a rabbit, somebody that was going to, get off to a good start. The first person got to draw 1 card each month for 6 months, and the second person got to draw 3 cards. Third person got to draw 6 cards. Fourth person 10 cards. Fifth person 20. Sixth person 30. Now the first person basically recruited 1 a month. Second person 3 a month. Third person 6 a month. 10 a month, 20 a month, and 30 a month. And these were the results. The first person drew 6 cards. Out of the 6 cards, 4 of them were duds. Okay, 1 of them was a rabbit, and 1 of them was going to be a part-timer. Okay. Second person drew 18 cards, 9 duds, 5 of them happy part-timers, 4 of them were rabbits. Third person, 36 total recruits, 29 duds, 6 part-timers, 1 rabbit. Fourth person, 60 total cards, 40 duds, 12 part-timers, 5 rabbits. That was a double-digit recruiter. Okay, out of 6 months, double-digit recruiting. How many rabbits should you have? About 6, right? Well, this person had 5, had about 12 part-timers, which is pretty much dead on cue. Okay, now this was just completely random, literally stacking the cards out like that, just grabbing random cards. The fifth person drew 120 total cards, 85 of them duds, 27 part-timers, and 18 rabbits. Last person drew 180 cards, 30 a month, 123 duds, 38 happy part-timers, and 19 rabbits. Now here's what it all come out to from the number standpoint. Out of 420 recruits total in 6 months, 290 of them quit before the ink was dry. 89 of them were happy part-timers, and 48 of them were going to race the district. That comes down to percentage shade, which is kind of scary. 60% duds. Now we talk about that in recruiting, right? But this is a playing cards, completely random, nothing staged. 60% duds. Now go back to what we said. Out of 10 recruits, how many of them are duds? 60%. 29% were happy part-timers, and 11% ended up being rabbits. Now, you can do that over and over and over, and the same results are going to happen. Because it's called the law of numbers, this law of probability. Your business works exactly the same way. Now, if you're the first 3 people, out of the first 3 people, guys, they recruited, all 3 combined, if you add them up, 36, 18, that's 24, 30, they recruited 60 people between those 3, and only ended up with 11 part-timers between those 3, and 6 rabbits. That's exactly what's supposed to happen. But here's the problem. Each one of those 3, it's not like that's on one team. That's on 3 different teams. Right. Now, the human part of it comes into play whenever, if you're on one of those 3 teams and you see the other 3 teams with all this success, all this other different stuff, now if you're that rabbit on those little dud teams, guess what? You're wondering why your leader's a dud. So that's where the human aspect of it comes into play. So when it comes down to it, you cannot, no matter what, you cannot beat the numbers. And they can't ever beat you. And you don't ever, I mean, it's predictable. So if you open up a McDonald's and you drop $1 million cash, you're not doing it because you love the fries, right? You're not doing it because you like the Happy Meal toy. You're doing it because there's a 60-year track record that you know for a fact, if you do it, you can expect with 100% guarantee, you should expect a certain return on that investment. When Primerica is the same exact way. Here's where the problem comes though. The problem comes, Jen, whenever you got 1 recruit and you expected 8 rabbits to come out of that.
Right.
When you go out there and you get 3, see, you cannot get frustrated with work, the results you're not getting from work that you're not doing. You can't get frustrated pulling 1 card and not every single time being an ace. You can't do that. You got to stop being frustrated about that. Where you should be frustrated, and this will never happen, is if you go out there and get 30 recruits in a month and all of them are duds for 6 months in a row. Now here's what I always tell people. You can't everybody out there be stupid. You know, there's only so many times you can go on an appointment or get on an interview and say this person was just stupid. Okay, I get that the first few times, but if you do 30 interviews and everybody's stupid, then Bill always says if Tom's got a problem with Sue, Tom's got a problem with Joe, Tom's got a problem with Bob, Tom's the problem, okay? But when it comes down to it, this business is so mathematically predictable if you treat it like a business. So what does it mean? Go commit. Like Troy said, you know, have you heard the news? When recruiting goes up, everything goes up. And I showed that in that PowerPoint. I wish I'd have had it. I took DJ's numbers, Nick's numbers, Jared's, and Santana and Ruben's. And here's what I did. I did over the last 6 months. I broke it down in two 90-day increments, okay? First 90 days versus the second 90 days. And I showed their recruiting numbers from the first 90 days to the second. And then I showed their income from the first to the second. And magically enough, the ones that went down from the first, that were in recruiting, I think Jared went down 39%. Recruited 60 people, went down to like 40 people in the second 90 days. Income went down about 40%. Nick and them's income, their recruiting went up, their income went up. Okay? Both same office, both same system, same presentations, everything. When recruiting went up, their incomes went up. When recruiting went down, their incomes went down. Why I like this kind of stuff is I love the hype of the business. I love the motivation. I love oh Lord, I can't think of the word. Whenever somebody says something, but I really love it whenever it can be proven. And because there's really, like Bill says, you can argue with an opinion, but you can't argue with a fact. This is mathematical fact, okay? And there's nothing that anybody in here can say to dispute this. It's simply math. And people are not math, but if you want to have a big team, you got to understand the business side of it, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through this. You all seen this. Is this working? I don't know.
Click.
It's not doing anything.
Give me 2 seconds.
All right. Yeah. Anybody got any questions about that card thing?
It's awesome.
The card. Just go get a deck of playing cards and
Yeah.
do
Did
the
you use one deck or did you use several?
One.
Okay, good. One deck, just pick it all up. I wanna do that.
It was amazing.
Yeah, I like it.
All right, so still ain't working, D.
Hold that little button on the side, Kirby.
And just click.
It's coming.
He's doing it, thank you. Huh?
Yeah, all he had done was took a deck of chords and just laid it out, just mixed it all up on the
Yeah,
table.
cool. I just wanted to get it. I'll take your word for it.
Oh. Hey, just stay back there then.
It's more realistic than you're going to read
Right.
Oh, okay.
There it goes.
Okay. Hey, I got it.
Now it's.
Yeah, it was on my book was on it. All right.
I was usually doing it because.
All right, now these are some older numbers, guys. These are somewhat older, but if I had the numbers today, I just lost my source of all these numbers. I'm not going to reveal that source here. But obviously, we all seen these 3 to 4 personal ones to survive. Here's the deal: if you don't have anybody on your team right now, it's not all of a sudden you're just not going to have 10 recruits a month. It's got to come from you. You've got to go do it. Now, you don't have to do personally 10 recruits. You can if you want. If you don't have anything going and you want to jumpstart it, go do that. Because you ain't nothing else to do. Life would be really, really easy if it's all you have. Yeah, I mean, nobody calling you. I mean, I'm saying it's never easier than if you just have nobody. And I'm not trying to say that you want it to be that way. But if you starting from scratch, easiest point in time is to start doing something because you don't have any other responsibilities. You don't have nobody calling you, asking you dumb questions. Nobody asking you to help them study. None of that different stuff. Now that stuff's going to happen. But if you're brand new right now, you need to be fired up. All you got to go do is get 1 week, personally. And then that's just to survive. But if you want to thrive, if you want a business that's going to be successful and start having predictable income, I told Sakura this, she's an S. She likes a certain structure, knowing for a fact certain things are going to happen. I said, as long as we're over 20 recruits, you can count like clockwork on at least $10,000 a month. Worst case scenario. Shay, did you agree with me on that?
100%.
I mean, worst case scenario, if I don't write an app personally, which I always do, worst case scenario, 10 grand a month to 20 recruits a month. Why? Because of what follows that. Now, 10 grand is not what you want. I mean, that's obviously not bad, but it's not good either, okay? I'm just saying the worst case scenario. She understands that, so all of the stress is gone unless we go under 20 recruits, okay? Team recruits tend to begin. Why? Because unless if 10% of your recruits do something and you recruit 6 people, unless you find 0.6 of somebody, it's good. I mean, you can't recruit a 60% of one person. Okay, you've got to do 10 for the numbers to add up. Where people get in a bind is where they start getting that gambler mentality, where they want to go recruit 3 and think they can actually do better than the numbers. Well, you might go recruit one person and that person does something. But I guarantee you, the law of averages are going to catch up with you over a period of time. It's going to even itself out. Sometimes people call me up and say, "Man, all my appointments this week canceled." Well, how many did you have? 1. Okay. Well, it may happen again for the next 3 or 4 weeks. But if you had 10 and they all canceled, then the next 10 ought to be just ridiculously on point, perfect. Everything happens. Everything's good. Because the law of averages, none of us are exempt from that. That's just the way that all Fortune 500 companies predict their. See, Primerica stock is doing well, all that different stuff. You know why investors invested in our company? Because of the 30-something year predictable business model. That's why. Not because they came meet any of us and liked our attitude. Because they've seen predictable numbers, and I guarantee you somewhere along the line, Addison and Rick Williams and them showed them, look, boom, this is what we recruit, this is how much we license, and every time we get a license, this is exactly how many sales here is 30-something years of proof. I mean, I can deal with that. Our competitor companies are investing millions of dollars in us. Why? Because they always bet on the winner. You know what I'm saying? Always bet on the winner. I know people that are LSU fans that bet against LSU this weekend. Why? They logically wasn't going to win. They somehow pulled it off, but... So if you go get 10, that's just a start. 20 will start to build you a team. Why? Because now you have 2 people coming in, 2 rabbits coming in a month. Rabbits for you guys that are new, or what does a rabbit do? As soon as the dog jump, I mean, them suckers run 100 miles an hour. Okay, 100 miles an hour. But you better build that rabbit a team real quick, because the rabbit runs 100 miles an hour from me to shade, stop. You know what I'm saying? So all of a sudden, if that dog stays on him, that rabbit's going to keep on running. All of a sudden, rabbit gets going, all of a sudden, they're going to stop. Okay, you got to keep them going. So 20 means that rabbit's getting himself over 10 recruits, possibly, and you got another one coming in. And then you just simply build. One of the things that we tell our guys, and this may be wrong, I don't know, but look, you go out there and you fight like crazy to get to 10. And then you fight like crazy to have somebody on your team get to 10. And then you double digit outside of that team. And then you fight like crazy to get a second person, a third person to 10. And to me, that's just pretty simple. It's keeping it simple. Everybody's focusing on 10. That's the reason why all of our guys Saturday said they were going to do 10 recruits. It's because when they see all these numbers, they know that, and if them have any chance, they got to at least fight for 10. They got to at least fight like crazy to get there. Nobody says their team goal is 5 recruits in our office, because it's like, okay, my goal is to fail this month. That's not the way it's supposed to be, I think. 30 to win. Why? You've seen that. Out of 30 recruits in 6 months, that person's got 19 people that are licensed, probably district, in that 6-month period of time. 50 to dominate. That's a place that we've never been. We've recruited over 40 a few times, but we never got to 50. And I used it the other day. Whenever Bubba and them hit 70-something thousand in premium, the month before that, I told our entire office, in our training class, that watch what they're going to do this month. Why? Because they had gotten 50 recruits 2 months in a row, and their premium was in the 30s. I said, you can't just get 50 recruits in 2 months back to back and not have something explode from it. And look, they went from 30-something to 70-some thousand. And then they went back, right? They promoted an RVP, they went back to about 30-something recruits, 40 recruits, and then last month they got 60 recruits. Said it again, watch what's going to happen. They already over almost probably 30,000 in production with 2.5 weeks left. Why? Because they got 60 recruits in there the month before. They got that many more cars that they pulled from. It's really not that, it's not that difficult. So here's the thing. We looked at some numbers, and this was, again, look, this is not current numbers, but the ratios are probably exactly the same, okay? Bill Whittle, when I did this PowerPoint, Bill Whittle had 467 recruits over 12 months. 717 sales. Now, Bill's base shop's got some serious horses in there. People that have been in the base shop for, some of them train Joy, right?
20 years, 30 years.
I'm talking about, they know what they're doing. They know how to close. They know how to recruit across. They know how to do all those things. 717 sales, 467 recruits, turned into 1.5 sales per recruit. 1.5. You look at Abram Booty. At that time, his base shop had done 477 recruits, 657 sales, which turned into 1.4 sales per recruit. College Temple, the great College Temple, right? 341 recruits, 478 sales. That's 1.4 sales per recruit. Shay Dufresne at the time, y'all numbers was 270 recruits, 259 sales, 1 sale per recruit. Just one, basically 1 per recruit. Blake's was 263 to 293, 1.1 sale per recruit. Bub Alexander was 223, that's obviously not the same anymore, 244, 1.1 sale per recruit. And I guarantee you that if at all, they might have increased this by 1 or 2 decimal points at best, but they just got a ton more recruits coming in. And ours was 194 recruits over that 12 months, 201 sales, 1 per recruit. Now, what's crazy about this is, I remember talking with Shay when I put this together. I said, look, you can focus all your effort and time on getting better at making these sales go up. But look, would y'all agree Bill Whittle's been doing this for a while?
Yeah.
So if you spend your all your energy and all your plates trying to get as good as Bill Whittle's base shop is, at best, you're going to get 1.5 sales per recruit. At best. It's like I told Shay, both of us were at 1 sale per recruit. So we can focus on getting really, really that much better at sales and all that different stuff. And at best, get a half of 1 more sale per recruit, or you can do the easy and the fun, the thing that provides more opportunity for other people, and get your recruiting numbers up. So if you get your recruiting numbers up and your sales ratio stays the same, guess what's going to happen to your sales? Hence the term, when recruiting goes up, everything goes up, right? Well, what we did, and that was that 12 months. So far this year, we got 261 recruits. So we got our recruiting numbers up, right? That was the 12 months, and this is I believe it's 9 months. I looked at the numbers. 261 recruits, or it might be the year, I don't know. 261 recruits is more recruits, right? So look, we had 201 sales. So we increased our sales by 70. Our recruits by 70. Guess what happened to our cases, our number of apps? 300, okay? And instead of 191,000, so we had 194 recruits, 191,000, we had 261 recruits, 277,000 in premium. Exactly the same. It's exact. So our number went a little bit higher, from 1 sale per recruit to 1.15 sales per recruit. I'm talking about too small to even think about.
Yep.
Talk about 1.15. So here's the deal. Why is it that we're having a lot more success this year? Is it because we got 1/10 of a point better at sales?
Nope.
Or is it because we increased our recruiting by 30%?
You increase the recruiting.
That's it. It's a no-brainer. It's an absolute no-brainer, guys. Now, that's just in Louisiana. You look at the company. Tony Lorraine, the big dog in the company, right? He personally writes like 30 G's a month in premium. I don't understand that, how that happens. Shade spent some time with him. Maybe you can let us know. I don't know, but whatever. But look, senior national sales director, he's got a $100,000 base shop, all that stuff. And here's the deal: you can get caught up in looking at all the people and be like, oh my God, I can't never be that good. They're not as good as you may think they are. Now, they ain't duds, okay? They're not duds, but the reality is Tony Lorraine's team did 702 recruits. Probably some reason why. It's probably an indicator of how he does so many sales. 700 recruits. What is that per month?
60,
I don't know. What's
60.
60 recruits a
Right
month.
up.
60 recruits a month, guys. And then look, Shade's done that before. All that is 3 or 4 people doing 10 recruits. And you can say, well, that's 3 or 4 people doing 10 recruits is only 30 or 40. Well, you still got other people in there that ain't doing 10. That's fighting for 10.
And I'll tell you, Kirby, because a lot of people haven't necessarily done it, but the reason they don't do it is because they're so intimidated by it. It's not hard.
No.
It's not hard.
And I'm going to talk about that, like how to do that in a second. But watch this. Tony Lorraine, who's speaking on every trip, spoke at the convention, spoke in Colorado, I'm sure, going to be speaking in Boca. 702 recruits, 1,058 sales, which is $1 million in premium. Now you can look at that number and be like, oh man, I can't ever do that. But their ratio is the same as Whittle's, 1.5. 1.5. So that means, guys, for every 1 recruit that they're getting 0.35 sales more than we are per every recruit. So from a playing field standpoint, if all of a sudden we played baseball, right, or we were quarterbacks, she was a quarterback and I was a quarterback, and your passing completion ratio was 0.3% better than mine, so mine was, let's say, 71% and yours was 71.3%, nobody would even talk about that. They round that crap down or up. Does that make sense? So from a standpoint of that, we're basically one and the same. And the reason I'm going to, whenever I saw this, it made me feel a hell of a lot better than what I was. Than what I was feeling, okay? Not better than I was, but I look at those guys and I was intimidated. I'd go to, literally the first time Mike told me that I had a jersey, I was going to fast run school. I don't know if anybody else ever experienced this, but I was scared to death. I wanted to throw up. I'm like, oh my God. First time he told me that, I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to speak. I don't want to speak. I don't want to speak. Hopefully I don't even speak. I literally was about to throw up. When I had that, I remember where I was standing, I was like, oh my God, this is really bad. Why? I speak every damn week. I don't have a problem with that. The reality is I didn't feel like I was in the same room with those guys.
Right.
Now, I know you probably feel the same way. I mean, hey, it's just human beings. But then I started realizing that now, it's like, man, those guys, they get up there and take less notes than most everybody else does at those tables. That's the first thing I realized. You ever realize that, Troy?
Yeah.
Like, I have a hard time everybody screws off up there. I'm like, these are the best of the best, and they all screw off at the table. Serious. I'm like, well, that's the first thing I realized, like, hold on a second.
We do
Second
not
thing I
send
re-
picture mail during the meeting.
Second thing, and I'm not telling you guys to do that because you're not at those tables yet, more than likely. But the reality is that they ain't any different. They don't put their pants on in a better way than you. They just got a hell of a lot more cards they pulling out of the deck.
Yep.
So he got 1.5 recruits per sale. Sam Shepard, $1 million earner. Sam Shepard. They got 1,137 recruits in that year, 1,417 sales for a total of 1.25 sales per recruit. Frank Dillon, right? Frank Dillon basically had the best ratios of anybody that I figured out, and his was 1.6. 620 recruits, 987 sales for $740,000 in premium in his base. That's a $1.7 million earner. With, you know, all the biggest of the bad base shops come out of Dillon's hierarchy, and people carry him off the stage and all that different nonsense, right? Why? Because they're great at what they do, or it's because they just recruit a lot of people. A lot more people. This right here, that's about 90 recruits a month. 90 recruits a month. How could they not win with 90 recruits a month? George and Ursula Chavez, the ones that they were on the FYI magazine and brand new in the business, a couple years and making all this money and all this stuff, speaking. I'm telling you, these guys get up there and they speak from stage so well. Some of them are like, wow, they can do it. I know I can do it, right? But some of them get up there and they speak so well with so much passion and so much good information. You're like, I don't know if I can ever be that good. But the reality is all of them got up there because they worked the numbers. And then they get up there and they shine because they get an opportunity, they prepare, and they do well because they want everybody to like it. They want everybody to be like, damn, that dude's a stud. In reality, most of it, it's not even how they talking to their people, probably. A lot of it is just simple as this. Go get the numbers. Go do 10. Go do 10. You can't get caught up in all that. This is how they win. Look, their ratio is 1 recruit per sale. 1 recruit per sale. Alex McEvan, I believe, did they cross the million yet?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they just crossed them out. That newest $1 million earner, I believe. Watch. 473 recruits, 789 sales, 1.6. So they're the same ratios as Dillon. Christian David, y'all seen him? Oh, he's the best one. 1.7. 1.7. 530 recruits got 913 sales, 1.7 recruits per person. So let me ask you this question. Common sense wise, if you're a business owner, if you were Donald Trump and you invested all your money in the company and you had one of two things you could focus on. You couldn't focus on 2, you could only focus on 1. And now you go up to the Don, right, and you say, hey, look, dude, I got a business I want you to buy. He's gonna look at numbers. He ain't gonna worry about your little motivational speech or any of that different stuff. He wants to know numbers. He's not gonna invest his money in a dud. He ain't gonna do that. So he's gonna look at numbers like this, and here's what he's gonna say. I got 2 things looking at these numbers, this is important and this is important. Because obviously you look at this one, they had more recruits than this one, right around the same sales. Less recruit than this one, less sales. So he's either gonna focus on putting his efforts into getting more people, or put his efforts into getting his people better? What do you think the Don's going to do?
More people.
Unless he's an idiot, which he's not. He's lost $1 billion a couple of times and gotten it back. Most people will never accomplish that feat once. He's done it several times. So this is a simple business. So when it comes down to it, if all you focus on, right, is getting more people inside of your team. Now, obviously, some of your because there were some people in here, their numbers are like 0.4% per, 0.4 sales per recruit. Well, that's just all that means is their system's not quite where it needs to be yet. But I promise you, you have to be a double dumb to keep recruiting going up and your system not evolve into something that's going to be better.
Right.
Okay, it's going to happen no matter what, whether you like it or not.
Or recruiting in the wrong market, or being in a young market, or being too old, or being in the
Right.
minority area. It just depends.
And then, look, watch it. Well, here's the thing. You hear Bill talk about that. You know, young markets. Blake was in a young market. Look, 1.1. We're in a young market predominantly. 1.1. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that because all we got to go do is increase our recruiting, and our premium is going to go up. So you look at all this. This is why these numbers are the way they are. This is why that is. So if you go back and look at your trend track or look at your numbers over the last 6 months or a year, you have to do it in a big period of time because that's where your the averages really start to come in. You can go recruit one person and have a spike month, right? But if you look at your numbers consistently, that's going to tell you what's going on.
Right.
And we've we've kind of taken that we looked at that. I tracked that stuff because I don't like things falling through the cracks, and I don't like not knowing exactly how to move my business forward. I remember when we first started exploding, 2008, when I got my ring. It was a lot based on false principles, I guess, if you will. Because all of a sudden our business exploded, and I took that as we were moving in the right direction. But all we were doing was we were heavily weighted in the area of loans. So I made $20,000 in 1 month, and we did 4 recruits by $6,000 in premium.
Right.
So if I understood the business side of it like I do now, I'd have been scared. I'd have been like, okay, look, yeah, 20 grand's fine. If it was like 1.4 million in loans that month and all that stuff, and 150,000 in securities, but I didn't understand this. And so at the time, guess what I thought? Hey, life is good from this point forward. This is why I worked hard all that time to get to this point. 20 grand a month is coming in like clockwork. Went by and escalated that month, all that crap. Didn't understand the recruiting numbers. Our recruiting didn't go over 10 that month. Guess what happened the next month? 20 to 9,000. Still coasting off of those. We had a $5,000-$6,000 smart loan bonus from that month. The next month after that, went from 20 to 9 to 3. Pissed off like hell. Why? I couldn't understand how that happened. How did that happen? How did that happen? How did that happen? Well, because it wasn't built the right way. It wasn't solid. How much time I got left, Martini?
5 minutes.
5 minutes. So does anybody have any questions about that? Anybody?
Now, I will comment. I did my numbers while you were talking right there for last year and this year. And last year was one ratio, the same thing we talked about. Now this year it actually is 1.1. So our numbers as a team actually are lower. We're splitting up and moving all this other crap like that. Losing people, y'all losing people, we lose people, Troy loses people, everyone loses people. But everyone should gain. Our numbers are our ratio is actually a little bit better this year. Not a big, but it's the same reason. Those numbers are the same reason I can leave Shreveport and come here because I'm not worried about it. Because once you accept and believe them, and we talk about the same thing all the time, right?
Yeah.
If you accept and understand and know it, it's not a matter of if you'll make it. It's just a matter of how long are you going to take to debate and make all the excuses and make all the other reasons, all the things that you say you can't do 10 recruits for. Stop saying that and just go do it, and then it all becomes and you control it by you started it off personally. What you said, 3 to 4.
Yeah.
It's not personally go out there and recruit 75 people today. People get overwhelmed by what they perceive as the process. When if they just commit to their personal section of it, the process takes over and makes it for you. I mean, granted you have to have a system, but everyone in this room does.
Right.
That's I love the great freaking class, man. That's
Thank you.
awesome.
Anybody else? Good.
If you really break it down, DJ and I were sitting right here figuring out and breaking down the numbers according to what you're showing up there. And the newest $1 million earner, Alex, I mean, if you break it down, that's only 10 people recruited a week. That's 10 in a space shop a week. Now we say a week, but if you break that down, that's only 4 people doing 10 a month. Because why? Because it's 40 recruits a month on average. So, I mean, there's no way, there's no reason that any one of us can't say that we can't go do those numbers.
Yeah, and here's the thing, the reason our income's up and all that stuff is our recruiting numbers up. And we're averaging right now, because of the first 5 months of this 12-month cycle, we're averaging 23 recruits a month, because like January, February had very bad numbers, but over the last 8 months, we've averaged over 30 recruits. So if over the next 4 months we keep averaging over 30, our income's going to be over 200. I mean, it's on its way doing that. We'll be at about 160 or 170 probably by January, and then we'll be over 200 as soon as that 30 average throughout the entire year will be over a second time. So, all right, thank you.
How nice is that? Good stuff, guys. That's one of the reasons why you've heard me talking about the STAR so much. Okay, and I want you to hear this so you understand the strategy. If you understand the strategy and there's a precise game plan here, and when the STAR comes together, the environment comes together. Okay, when the numbers come in, right, the fist. When there's more numbers here, there's more STAR. There's more opportunity for people to be attracted to getting recruiting going. Does that make sense? And then you heard me talk about the casino. The pops, local success, right? That's like ding, 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 ding. When there's local success, guess what? The believability does what? Help me out. And the power of numbers and the STAR theory. So everybody's getting what they want. And I'll add to it so you understand this. Training, tags, thinking, activity, goals, and skills. Make sure you drive that point home. Thinking, activity, goals, and skills. But did y'all hear about the recruiting? When recruiting goes up, everything else what? Follows, okay? And a lot of people, and it's understandable because a lot of people that join Primerica has never learned how to recruit. They've always been the recruiter. I mean, the recruited. Does that make sense? They've always been the recruited, so they've got to change the way they what? Think to become a recruiter. Now, fortunately, I was always a recruiter. Because even when I was in school, I was always recruiting my wife, and I was going to say, my wife said girls, okay? I was always recruiting people to go to the party. I was always that way. I was always the one thinking about making money and finding ways to do that. So that was just kind of in my bloodline. How many of y'all grew up like me? It's kind of like that's just how I was. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people in our country that's reverted not to that. They've been passive and be what? In general, employees, okay? And gimme. Does this make sense? That's kind of, and unfortunately it's going to trickle down. My opinion in our country is kind of the generation passed down, that's all they know. Okay, then you find that nobody wants to be somebody, okay? And that's not good, all right? Now, so let's go ahead and, by the way, did Kirby do a good job or what?
Oh, yeah.
So I'll give you a couple tips that I want you to do is make sure you get 10 copies of the Super Hierarchy book. Super Hierarchy book. Go get some CDs on recruiting. There's a plethora of information in a company. I'm talking about somebody perfect recruiting. Somebody just say, you know what? I'm going all out and that's all I'm going to focus on, okay? Because if you can recruit people, would you agree we'll get them trained?
Right.
All right? Are we going to have boot camps on training? Are we going to have boot camps on the presentation? What's the best way to get training? Get in the field, okay? So how many of y'all want to see how to get to regional vice president in 6 months or less? All right? Bill Whittle and I put this presentation together, and we worked on it together actually, to get someone that we got into the business who was already making $200,000 a year to go to a regional vice president. Now the person became a regional vice president, won every company contest, but he failed to do a lot of these principles. He failed to follow through the system. He wasn't totally coachable. Right. How many of y'all have ever had people like that, right? So today I want to go over these points again, and I'm driving them home. You're like, damn, how many times I got to hear the 7 points? I know what they are. How many of y'all can give them though? How many of y'all can give them right now? Stand up and say, hey, look, here's the 7 points. Go ahead, Daniel.
All right.
Fast now.
Number 1 is financial independence.
Go ahead.
Number 2, here we go. Number 2 is recruiting. Number 3 is QBI or licensing. Okay, I get those mixed up.
All right.
Number 4 is QBI.
All right.
Number 5 is promotions. Number 6 is RVP, SVP, NSD, SNSD, and then number LMNOP. Yeah, you know me, right? Right, and then number 7 is ownership.
All right, good job. Ownership of the stock, okay? Ownership of the stock and freedom, okay? So when you look at this and think about what I'm saying here, we make money when we do the system correctly, right? Your income is driven by doing the system correctly, all right? So it's not by how perfect you are is by running the system. The system works whether you work or not. Listen what I'm saying. You got to hear what I just said.
Give you a little warning. Fairly intimidating with him sitting there like this right in front of you. I feel like he's about to tackle me the entire time I was up there. He's like all right there. I'm thinking like,
I love it, man. I love it.
Fullback linebacker.
Recruit, right? So I just want you to feel this for a second. Imagine getting 10 recruits right now, and if you're already a double-digit recruiter, imagine having 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people double-digit on your team. How would you feel? Okay? So what Kirby talked about, what was the ratio? 60% what? Fail. 60% don't do it. I promise you, P90X knows that. They know when they send out 100 what? 100 P90X boxes, 60 of them ain't going to do it. Right or wrong? Matter of fact, they probably know how many are coming back and want to get their money back. Right or wrong? Okay? It's a scam and all that stuff. So they already calculated in the numbers. All right? So please understand it's not Primerica, it's the world. That's key when you talk about that, right? And a lot of people say, oh, it's Primerica, this is unbelievable. Then they go Google and put it all right. Okay, all right. So no, it's in anything. So when you understand these things and you're a business-minded person, and know that double-digit recruiting is going to yield you 4 possibilities of doing something. That means 6 ain't doing nothing. Matter of fact, the ink doesn't dry. All right? So you can't get in the Primerica game until you're doing 10 recruits. All right. So get people what? Licensed. Get them licensed. That's like a sense of urgency. Number 4, great QBI, quality of business, right? Okay, so we've got to make sure we're writing good quality of business. Now, next one is drive district promotions. I really believe out of the 5, this is number 1. Because you get the district by doing these first 4. So if we emphasize 4x4, 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 it's a lot stronger than a 2x4. Right? Okay, so we got to, I don't know what that meant, but that's okay? Okay? Y'all know what I'm talking about, the 2x4. A karate guy can chop it a 4x4, they ain't chopping it, right? So, but 4 recruits and 4 sales and get their license as part of this. Right? Because do they make money when they do this? Yeah. They get their $500 bonus potential of $1,000 because they write their first sale on their own in order to get it, right? Okay? So, number 6, that's going to happen by promoting districts. How many districts do you need to be a regional vice president? 6 active districts. So can we start selling that, guys? Man, I got a new district coming. I got a new district coming. And when we talk about something, we move towards it. All right? Number 7 is ownership and stock. Ownership and stock and becoming totally what? Number 1, it goes back to number 1, financial independent. And that's something so it kind of feeds each other. All right, y'all got, how many of y'all feel more comfortable with this? Yeah. All right, so we're going to talk about RVP. You saw how it was highlighted here? Okay, we're going to talk about number 6 today. Fair enough? Fair enough. Now here we go. All right, accelerated game plan for 6 months to regional vice president. Okay, who is it prepared for? Everett. So we need to take that name off. Okay, all right, okay. Prepare for the next individual. All right, here we go. Complete and submit your what? Wow. IBA. Is that important? You just got on board. Right. Okay, so watch. A, complete and submit all state and federal paperwork to get licensed in the big what? 3, which is, that's taken off. We took it off and everything else. We missed that one, okay? All right. So we call it the big what? Big 2, it'll be off today, all right? So the big 2, what is it? Help me out. Life in securities. Begin preparation for your exam, study time. The goal is to pass the exams on the first try. How about it, guys? Expectations, okay? So life and securities. How fast should they have both?
Yesterday.
I think within 90 days, 6 months max. Okay, how many of y'all would agree?
Yeah.
Okay, so you pass the life in 30 days, and the next 60 days is spent on what? Securities. How about it? All right. How many of y'all want to drive income? Yeah. So if you knew you had to replace a $200,000 income, would you agree it's a sense of urgency to go what? Get these licenses. Help me out. If you only need to make $2,000 or $3,000 to get somebody full-time, it's not as much of a sense of urgency. All right, now, begin the mastery of the big 2, product knowledge. What are they? Life and securities. Help me out. What's some securities we got to get good at?
Fixed annuities.
Fixed annuities.
Variable
variable annuities,
$50 pack draft.
$50 pack draft. There you go.
SEP IRAs.
SEP IRAs.
401ks.
Roth IRAs. Do we have all the training on video online?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Every one of them has training online. Y'all need to go dig on that online site. Securities training, it's all there, all right? So, begin the mastery of the product knowledge, life insurance and securities. Now, begin the mastery of overcoming objections, closing techniques. Isn't that what Kirby talked about this weekend?
Yeah.
Yes.
What's some CDs we can use? Now, I believe, this is me, we need to make sure Kirby, Gerard, Shade, our top leaders get on those CDs. Because right now, we're promoting Shane Rubin. I promise you, he's as good as Shane Rubin at closing.
Right.
Right or wrong? So I'm tired of promoting someone else when we got somebody as good or better.
Right.
Right.
How about y'all?
Right.
Okay, so can we get that done immediately? So now I'm passing out, here's one of my guys, Kirby Rhodes.
Right.
Here's one of my guys, Shade Dufresne. Here's one of my girls, Tammy Dufresne. Here's one of mine, Brian, y'all know what I'm saying? I don't want to go through all the names. But we got to make sure we implement that like before we go to the bathroom. I mean that because we're doing what? We're branding ourselves, especially when we're that good.
Right.
You got that?
I don't know how to do it. I'll do it. I'm fine.
It's called,
Yeah,
we're
I
just
got
going
an
to
idea.
video you, we'll figure it out, okay? But that's got to be a sense of urgency, okay? Closing techniques and getting commitment. So now we get these three on the mastery. How about it? Will you miss a lot of sales? No, you will get most of the ones you sit down with. Now, focus on the 5 to 6 most common objections, concerns at the big what? 2. Okay, it's not 3. Well, you can add in there recruiting, okay? All right? But prospecting and recruiting and getting referrals. So what are the 5 most common objections you'll get on life insurance, 5 most common objections you'll get in securities, 5 most common objections you'll get on recruiting? How about it? I bet you can write down 5, and it's hard to write down 5 at each one. And if we got good at those things, Kirby, would you agree we're going to close more?
Right.
Right? Now, begin the mastery of the Bob Safford third-party referral system. Keeps you in business. How many of y'all have mastered that? Not enough, right? So imagine getting referrals all the time. You've mastered it?
He's good.
Look,
I wrote
so,
that CD down.
so watch. We're going to get you on CD and on video the mastering of the referrals. John Bajeron. Right? Tweeter. All right? Okay. What happened there? Were you trying to fix it while I was talking? I'm sure it was.
He's fixing the color.
Yeah, he wanted
Give it up for the technical guy. Okay? All right. So,
How's that being done? It's magic.
Nobody's in it.
he's back there. Come on, D'Artagnan.
He's so T, doesn't it?
It's ridiculous. All right. So, now.
I'm changing it right now.
So watch here. Begin the prospecting, begin mastery of prospecting and recruiting. Right?